Hi there, everyone. For those of you that haven't been taught by me in Key Stage 3 yet, my name is Mr. Thompson. I am the Head of Design Technology at King Alfred's. What we've decided to do for the design technology work for Key Stage 3 is we're going to run one project for both Year 7 and 8. However, you have a choice of projects within this to challenge yourself at home depending on what materials you have available to you, what tools and skills you have. So this is a project and set of activities that you can expand and do more on if you so wish, or you can keep it a bit simpler depending on where your knowledge and skills lie. Okay, so I'm going to talk through the projects and talk through the first set of activities this week. We're going to do this as a 3-week project, so one task today and then further next week and the week after. We will produce these YouTube videos for each task and for the projects as we move forward, and there's also going to be some support materials that will help with the different projects, and I'm going to talk through that in a bit more detail in a moment. So here goes. In designing, we always follow a process. Okay, we don't just go, you know what, today I fancy just making something and getting some tools out and just bashing some bits together. That doesn't happen. However much we might like to do that in design technology, that's not how the world works, unfortunately. We normally start off with a design brief or a problem that we're trying to solve. And from the back of that, we then conduct some research. So we find some information. We then come up with some initial ideas, what we call concepts. We then design and develop those, and then we test them. And then once we finish testing, we might have to go back and do some more research, design and develop a little bit more, do some more testing until we end up with a finished product that we probably sell in a shop. In school, we often just do this process once. So we do some research, do some designing, we make a product. We don't normally have time to go back and do that what we call an iterative design process where we go back through it and start again. But professional products will always go back through this cycle many, many times. And it might not be the entire product goes back through the cycle, but a little part of it. Okay, so we just need to be aware that that's the process. We start off with some research, we then work through developing it until we end up with a final product which we can test, and then we go back again. Okay, and that is the design process. And we're going to start off today with research. Okay, week 2 will be much more focused on designing, and week 3 will be on the making. So here we are. So as I say, week 1, we're going to do some research. We're going to find out some information. We're going to analyze that information. Okay, decide if it's useful or not, because sometimes we find out loads of information. Some of it's absolutely useless. We want to try and find useful information. Week 2, we're going to look at designing and developing ideas. So we have to sketch some ideas. We're going to then change and develop them and tweak them to try and make them better. And then week 3, we're going to have a go at making something. Okay, and then we also need to test to see if that product works. So that's quite a lot to try and do in a 3-week project. Okay, so we've tried to pick some projects that make things a little bit easier, a little bit more accessible for you at home. And I'll talk through the projects and why we've got them on the next slide. So our project choices, we've got a range here. So we've got a bug and bee hotel. There's a couple of pictures there on the PowerPoint, and how that can be made. It can be made using a variety of different materials. You can see some of the ones shown here are made using sort of garden canes and some sort of boxes. Now, obviously, if you've got wood and you've got saws and access to some sort of tools at home, this might be the project for you. Equally, though, you can do this project using, I'm going to say, waste material from a recycling bin, baked bean cans, toilet roll tubes, bits of card. You could actually make a bee hotel using waste materials. The one on the top right there of the screen is using bricks, old plant pots, different plants. There's a whole host of different things you could use to try and make a bee hotel. Amazingly, the one on the top right, I found this online. Somebody was selling it for £1,400, I believe it was. It appears to be some reused bricks. Hey, people spend the money. So the idea behind that project, though, it's going to still involve some making, obviously, but you could have a variety of materials and tools. So you can choose that, and it's also looking at it, looking across the planet at the moment, bee numbers in particular are dropping down. And if the bees all disappear, plants and flowers, crops disappear, and then we start going a bit hungry. So I've made a bit of a pledge this year. My garden, all I've planted in my garden this year are plants that are good for bees. Okay, and I'm going to put in a bee hotel as well. I want to try and support the bees population. So that's sort of the reason behind this project. So that's slightly more physical, requiring you to manufacture something. As I said, it could be done out of card, could be done out of wood or waste materials you find. And the next option is a pop-up card. What we've chosen this for is, one, it's actually quite accessible. So if you've only got paper and scissors at home, you can actually have a go at this. It's a bit easier to do if you don't have that much materials and tools. And I've shown you a couple of pictures there to show the range of pop-up cards. I did a pop-up card project when I was in, I think, year 10 at school. So it is a very good project for creativity, coming up with ideas and problem solving. That dragon idea there, I have no idea how they make that. So that's something I'd have to probably go and research and find out. So pop cards, easier to access in terms of tools and materials at home. Scissors, Pritt stick maybe, and a bit of paper. You can obviously card as well. And then we've given you a third choice here. This one you've got to be a little bit careful with. This is a product of your choice. You'll still have to complete research, designing and making. You need to be able to think in advance, will I have the skills, the materials, and the time and the effort to complete a project. So if you decide, I know I want to make a light, okay, a lamp at home, that's fine, but you probably need to make sure you've got somebody that can help you with that. If you've got soldering irons to do circuitry and all sorts. So yes, you can pick other projects. Yeah, I still want you to follow the process and hand in the same bits of work that we ask other people to hand in, but you can be a little bit more creative. So that's probably more aimed at students in year 8, but that's not saying anybody in year 7 can't complete that. So the range of projects will vary depending on your level of skill, your engagement here, but you get to choose. Okay, brilliant. Moving on, we're going to start actually doing some work now. So task 1, it's very quick bit of written work. You can do this typed, you can do this by hand. If you're going to start doing things typed, the future bits of work will all just put it all in the same document. If you're going to do it by hand, that's completely fine. Just store it somewhere. And the work today, I'm not actually going to ask you to hand in. There's just a very quick 2-minute survey at the end where you're just going to give me a little bit of information. And that's all you actually have to hand in today. Okay. So the design brief is where we start every project. It's sort of saying, what are you going to do? So what product are you going to design and make? So off that list of 3 ideas you had on the previous slide. Who are you going to design and make it for? So if it's a bee hotel, are you going to design that for your parents, for them to put up in their garden, or a grandparent? If you're making a pop-up card, who is it for? Obviously, Father's Day is this coming weekend. You probably won't have a chance to make design, research, etc. ready for this weekend, but it might be that it's going to be a Christmas themed one, or Easter next year, or a birthday later in the year. You decide who is it going to be for. Where's the product most likely to be displayed and used? Indoors, outdoors, dining room table, mantelpiece, bookshelf for the cards. And obviously, if you've got a different project you're thinking of doing, where will that product go? Okay. And then a sentence or two. What are your first ideas? Maybe I'm planning to make a pop-up card for my dad's birthday. He's a farmer, so I'm going to make sure that it's got some tractors and some pigs on it. I know my dad is actually a pig farmer, so that's my pop-up card idea. I might actually use that in later work as we progress through next week. So that's just a really simple 10 minutes, just writing a few sentences. What are you going to do? You might want to pause here for a few minutes whilst you do that, or you can come back to this video at a later point. Task 2. We're going to do some research. I'm conscious that we may or may not have ready access to the internet to do lots of looks or Google image searches. So what we as a team have done in DT is we've created a bank of research material. They're in the attachments on the homework for you to go through and find images from there and complete some of the work. Okay, so it's designed so you can all access this regardless of whether or not you can get on the internet right now. Obviously, you probably need to be on the internet to hear this that I'm talking about right now. So collect a load of images of your chosen product, so pop-up cards, bee hotels, bug hotels, or your other product. So by looking at a few images, you'll get a load of ideas as to how other people have solved that problem in the past, how other people have made this project. Then we're going to select one image and we're going to do a bit more detailed research. We're going to actually really try and unpick what have these people designed, why have they done that? Okay, so job one here is collect a load of images. Okay, you can collect more than 5. The more you collect, probably the more ideas you're going to get for next week. Okay, and this task here is very much aimed at next week. The more info you have, the easier designing becomes. Okay, so there is extra documents and more research material. And pause again if you want for 15 minutes whilst you collect that information. If not, carry on. So task 3, this is the detailed research part. This is going to take a bit of time, I'm giving you half an hour for it, and we're going to review the work of others. This actually comes up in the GCSE mark scheme for your piece of coursework, that you have to review the work of others. So in this case, we're going to do a product analysis. We are going to look at a product, we're going to look at it in detail. Ideally, you'd conduct primary research over secondary research. So primary research is where you'd go and collect photos yourself. So I'd go to a garden centre and take some photos of a bug hotel, or I'd go to a card shop and take some photos of some pop-up cards. And I'd look at them, open them, use them. That's primary research, because that's research you're fully undertaking. You know that product better than anybody else because you're looking and touching and playing with and using that product. Secondary research is probably what we're most likely to be doing right now. And that's where we're going to use either photos off the internet, photos from the pack we've produced, and that's okay. There's no problem with that for this project, but in future you try and do it yourself and go and take photos of existing products. And then we're going to use a tool here called Access FM to help review the work of others. Access FM is just an acronym. Okay, we use it a lot in DT, and it's aesthetics, cost, consumer, environment, size, safety, function, and manufacture. Okay, lots of big words there. We're going to go through them one at a time. I always talk to my GCSE students about being very focused on this as well. So I've highlighted here aesthetics, function, and manufacture. I call this the big FAM. Okay, I'm trying to be really cool here. It's the FAM. I'm a teacher. I can't do cool, but function, aesthetics, manufacture, the ones you probably want to spend a little bit more time on because they're going to cover a lot of the really important information. Okay, moving on, I'm going to talk you through the questions. We're going to break this down to 2 of the words at a time, and I'll give you some examples in here. So to start off, here we have some sentence starters and some connectives that we might want to use in our product analysis. I'm not going to read through them. I'm just going to leave them there for you. Have a look in your own time. They will hopefully be useful to you in getting started with some of the questions that we're going to ask. So, Access FM, the first 2 words here are aesthetics and cost. So, aesthetics is a long word. Some of you will have come across it in your DT so far. If you can, just repeat it after me. Aesthetics. Okay. Give me a moment for that. And that just means appearance or the look of a product. Okay. For those of you in year 8, this was actually word of the week, I believe, in the 2nd week of term back when you were in year 7. Interesting fact. So aesthetics. What does the product look like? What shape is it? Color, theme, textures? Just answer that in a couple of sentences. Cost. How much do you think it costs to buy? How much do you think it costs to make? Is it good value for money? What I don't want you to do here is write the following for cost. £5, £10, yes. Because actually, unless you've got the questions next to you at all times, that has no value. So you do have to write this as a sentence. Okay, but I'm trying to give you questions for each one of these to help you out. Feel free to pause and move on to the next slide as and when you are ready. So on this slide, we have a waggle. This is for, I've taken this from the clock project in year 8, actually. So here's a picture of a clock that I found on the internet. This clock looks like it's a traditional wind-up alarm clock. It is round and red in colour. It looks like it's simple to read the time from because it's got clear numbers. The hands are black and point directly at the numbers. It looks to be very smooth, so that's talking about its texture. And then for cost, I think this clock would cost around £5 to make and would be sold at around £15 to achieve a good profit. I feel the clock is good value for money and I would like to buy it. Okay, just realise the typo at the end there, so it's buy-in. So that is the waggle for that. It's just showing you sort of quite simply how we go about writing this. Moving on through the next set of questions. So C and E, consumer and environment. So consumer means who is the product designed for? The user, the person that's going to buy it, use it, probably in the end throw it away. How old are they? What gender are they? How rich are they? What hobbies and interests do they have? So like I mentioned earlier, if I was designing for my dad, who's 61 now, who's male, wealthy, not so much. Hobbies and interests, probably walking the dogs and farming. Okay, so that'll help me design a clock for him moving forward. Not clock, pop-up card. Then environment, we're looking here at is it good for the environment or not? Think of, is it got lots of packaging that's wasted? Is it going to reuse materials that were recycled? And then what environment will it be used in? So environment's got two meanings there. Environment is in, is it good for the environment? And environment is in the environment in which it will be used. S&S, so that's size and safety. How big is it? What size, length, width? Okay. And safety. How has it been made safe? Is it safe? Could it be made safer? Feel free to pause again to answer those questions. And these are the big two at the end here. So we've got function and manufacture, F&M. The reason why these are important is because this is probably the most useful thing to take forward into your designing. What is it going to do and how might you make it? So what is it meant to do? How does it work? What are the main features and functions of the product? And does it work well? Or does it not? How can you tell if it works well? Manufacture, what is it made from? How is it made? So I always think about making things as the first thing you do when you make something is probably cut some material up, and then the next thing you do is join some material back together. So how are the parts cut apart and how are they joined together? That's how you make things in general terms. Okay, so think about that. How is it made? That's going to be really useful for you next week and into the making process. If you know how it's made, you can recreate that. So pause here again. As I said, focus on this one. These are two really important points. Moving forward, though, we're going to look at the conclusion and the final bit, the survey. So to conclude, overall, do you like or not like the product and why? What have you learned from the product? Okay, how might that be useful when designing next week? And then finally, and this is the only thing you have to hand in this week for this task, is fill in a survey that's on that link there. Okay, you have to use the PDF to find the link. With the survey, all it asks for is what year you're in, what project you've picked, what bit of research you found useful. Okay, that's it. It's not a big, lots of questions. I'm just interested to see that you found some useful information. Okay, and that's the end of the week 1 of Design and Technology for year 7 and 8. Hopefully you've got an idea for a project and you're interested in it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what we produce. Next week, I'll be asking you to submit your design work, and the week after, I'll be asking you to submit a photo of whatever you've created. Anyway, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Any questions, though, do get in touch with myself or any of the D&T team. Thank you, and goodbye.